Since his last fight for the title against Israel Adesanya, fans can't wait for the return of the Reaper. In his last outing, he pushed the champ to the limit and ended up losing a controversial decision. The former middleweight champion doesn't seem to want to slow down anytime soon. He was booked to take on the perennial contender Marvin Vettori for a title eliminator on International Fight Week. So, let's discuss. First up, the Italian Dream versus the Reaper. After Marvin Vettori beat Paulo Costa in a 5-round war, he instantly became a fan favorite. The way he handled the weight issues of Costa was impressive, and it proved that he's as game as they come. Fans wanted to see him in a title eliminator. Both he and Robert are in a weird place in the middleweight division. They've both proven themselves to be worthy contenders, but they've lost to the champ twice. Seems like the best thing to do would be to match them up against one another, which is exactly what the UFC did. Kudos to them for making the right fight. The fight was originally scheduled for July on the UFC's Singapore card. It was a guaranteed barn burner as both athletes came to fight every single time. Bobby Knuckles had 2 wars with Yoel Romero that made him a certified badass for the rest of his career. Stylistically, it'll be interesting to see if Whittaker can stuff the takedowns of Vettori, or if the volume of Marvin would be able to neutralize the technical expertise of Robert on the feet. Both guys are very tough and could take a hit. That means we might see them beat each other up and go to the judges. This fight can't come soon enough. Next, we have an undisclosed injury. This isn't a fairy tale we're living in. Something goes wrong when things seem too good to be true. Marvin tweeted in early May that Whittaker had pulled out of the fight for undisclosed reasons. The rumors were confirmed when the UFC also announced that the fight had been pushed back, and they would like to reschedule it for September. There were many speculations made as to why Robert pulled out of the fight. News started circulating about his son's health when he had to be taken to the hospital. Many people thought Whittaker couldn't continue camp because he wanted to take care of his family. Those rumors died quickly after Robert made an official statement. The Reaper did an interview with the boys at Submission Radio and said he was forced to pull out due to an injury he suffered at the start of camp. When he was asked to specify the body part that was injured, he said that he'd rather not tell everyone the specifics, as his opponents might use that to their advantage. Remember the first Romero fight. When you keep that in mind, it does make sense, as most fighters only reveal the details of their injuries as proof that they're not running away from the fight. Bobby seems to be confident in his abilities and doesn't care what people might say. Whittaker also said that he would have gone through with the bout had he suffered the injury later on in the camp. All fighters have to go through something during their training, and almost no one makes it to a fight 100% ready. But because the accident happened earlier on, that means he won't be able to train hard and get his weight down properly. He said the ideal scenario would be to face Vettori later on in the year, as he's the toughest opponent available. Now, for Angry Marvin. If you've followed Marvin Vettori for a while, you know he gets angry a lot. The guy's got a pretty short temper even for a professional fighter. When the news was out about Whittaker pulling out, he reacted just the way you'd expect him to. He tweeted that he's the only guy in the middleweight division who's never turned down a fight with anyone. He was mad at Robert for not being able to make it. Marvin's had a history of getting mad at opponents who can't make it to the fight. He did the same thing with Darren Till after Darren had to pull out due to a broken collarbone. The number 3 ranked middleweight didn't want to wait for Whittaker and said he'd like another opponent on the same date. When the UFC couldn't find another opponent for him in June, he was forced to accept the fight in September. The UFC would be having a fight night in Paris on the 3rd of September. The main event will likely have Cyril Gane taking on Tai Tuivasa in a battle that would determine who gets the next shot at the title. The fight between Whittaker and Vettori has been signed, so let's just hope nothing goes wrong this time, cause who knows how angry Marvin would get if the bout got cancelled twice. Next, in other related news, what's next for the Korean Zombie? One of the most heartbreaking moments that occurred at UFC 273 was Chang Sung-jung failing to fulfill his destiny to become a UFC champion. The fight wasn't close at all. We saw the Zombie get knocked down numerous times during the fight. Many of the fans and even the commentators thought that the fight should have been stopped a lot earlier. In between the rounds, Chang Sung-jung wouldn't even be able to sit on the stool. As the 4th round started, we saw the champ ask the Zombie if he wanted to continue. A classy move by a classy champion. The fight ended early in the 4th round after a brutal performance by Alex Volkanovski. The fight left many questions about the future of one of the legends of the sport. The Korean Zombie has left quite a legacy for himself. His fights were always entertaining. He could do it all: strike, wrestle, or grapple with the best. The only thing he couldn't accomplish was touching UFC gold. Some people think it's time for the Zombie to hang it up, as he's got nothing left to prove. Chang Sung-jung was asked about his retirement in an interview in which he said that he didn't want to end his career with that performance. He was utterly disappointed disappointed with the way he looked in his last fight, and he'd like to have one more fight before he calls it a career. He wants to put on a performance for the fans just like the old days. That's a pretty honorable way of thinking by one of the best featherweights in UFC history. As for the fans, they can't wait for his music to play in the arena again. And now, Figgy plans on moving up. The two-time flyweight champion, Deiveson Figueiredo, is currently on the sidelines due to an injury, and he won't be able to defend his title in the next few months. As a result of that, the UFC booked a fight between the two top flyweights for the interim title. Kai Kara France, who's coming off a win over the previously undefeated Askar Askarov, will be taking on the former champion Brandon Moreno. The two have fought previously, with Moreno winning a unanimous decision. This time, there's a title on the line, and Kai looks better than ever. When Figgy was asked about the interim title fight, he expressed his disappointment by saying that it was an unfair decision by the UFC to make an interim title fight so soon. He says he's even considering moving up to bantamweight because of this. Figueiredo is pretty big for his weight class, and a move up has been in discussions for more than a year. He was unable to make weight for his first title fight against Joseph Benavidez. Perhaps he's just sick of all the hard weight cuts, and this is his way of making the move. We've seen many champions move up a weight class and be successful. The question is, who would he fight at bantamweight? Is he getting a title shot directly? How well would he perform against the funk master Aljamain Sterling? Finally, Paulo Costa reaches out to Paddy Pimblett. Perhaps the biggest rival of Paulo Costa, apart from the stylebender, is the battle against the scale. Costa is one of the biggest middleweights in the world. He's been known to balloon up all the way to mid-230s and cut down from there. He missed weight in his last fight against Marvin Vettori, and Dana White was adamant about not letting him fight at middleweight again. Well, it looks like he got a second chance. Costa will be taking on Luke Rockhold in August, and it looks like the weight cut isn't going very smoothly this time either. Costa mentioned Paddy the Baddie in a tweet, another fellow foodie who loves to balloon up in between fights. He jokingly asked Paddy to help him cut weight for his next fight. Paddy responded nicely, offering him to come to Liverpool. The fat people must stick together. Costa also mentioned that the two might miss weight together and eat junk food instead. As unprofessional as that sounds, you gotta appreciate the grind these guys have to put themselves through to step on the scales. That's a wrap for this video. Who do you think wins the fight between Whittaker and Vettori? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like these. See you in the next one.